Hi, I'm Dempsey Pulot, and this week I'm reviewing... Now, before we start off, as always, I just want to take a quick second to remind you guys to make sure you hit that like button if you like today's video, and if you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well for more new movie-related content weekly. But, without further ado, let's jump into today's film. Boogie was written and directed by Huang and stars Taylor Takahashi as a talented high school basketball player who struggles to balance his parents' expectation of him to get into a good college with his own dreams of playing in the NBA. The film also features Taylor Page, Jorge Lendeborg Jr., the late and great Pop Smoke, Mike Moe, and Huang himself. Now, I'm a sucker for coming-of-age films. It's one of my favorite genres, honestly. But what really intrigued me about this film was that, one, it takes place entirely in New York City, which is, of course, my hometown. And two, it explores growing up through the eyes of an Asian American male, which, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we really haven't seen done before. Well, at least I haven't seen done before in American cinema, anyway. Above all, this is a film about culture and how it sometimes shapes your identity before you're even born. The film begins with our protagonist's parents visiting a fortune teller because they know they're about to have a kid, but they really want to know how he's going to change their lives. And what's really interesting is that even as Boogie grows up, his parents continue to expect more and more from him. You know, in a typical relationship between a kid and a parent, the kid can lean on a parent for love and support. Here, it's quite the opposite. And I would even argue that there's not even that much love. Where most parents would really want their kid to go on and get good grades and go to a good school, his parents want the exact same thing, except they have ulterior motives. They just want Boogie to get into a good school and get a good job so that he can ultimately come back and provide for them. And it's sad because it feels like he's living a life that isn't even his anymore. And as much as we see that he loves the game of basketball, it never truly feels like he's enjoying it. Instead, it feels like he's just doing it to get by, or at least so that he can ultimately help his parents get by. And aside from capturing what it's like to be a teen truly oppressed by your parents, I think that the film does a really good job at capturing just how oppressive the college admission system is. For instance, Boogie applies to all these big-name schools, and he has all these scouts come to his games, and he even checks off so many boxes for these schools. Yet, whenever it's time to talk about money, magically, there are just never any scholarships left. You know, while most people know about the issues that minorities, and especially immigrant minorities, have to face in this country, I really appreciate it that this film highlighted the issues that the kids of those minorities have to face. Because while in most cases those kids are actually first-generation Americans, they often have to fight much harder just to make it. Taylor Takahashi is excellent in this as Boogie, which, believe it or not, is his very first film, and he brings a sense of authenticity to this that mirrors that of writer-director Huang's. Now, if you don't know Huang, he's probably the best example of a modern mogul. He's gone from designing clothes to running a restaurant, even being a chef at one point. He's written books. If you've ever heard of the show Fresh Off the Boat, it's actually based off of the book of the same name that he wrote, which is essentially about his life. So, yeah, this guy's a big deal, and he's pretty much done everything except direct up until this point anyway. So the same way that this is Taylor Takahashi's acting debut, this is also Huang's directorial debut. And I actually thought it was a pretty good directorial debut. Granted, I do have some issues with the directing, maybe even more so the writing. Probably the biggest being that there isn't as much basketball as you would think there would be. And I get that basketball isn't the film's primary focus, it's Boogie. However, the climax, for instance, is set up to be this massive game, and it ends up being pretty underwhelming. More on the cons in just a second, though. Going back to the acting, Taylor Page, who plays Boogie's love interest Eleanor, is also a highlight of the film. I really enjoyed her character. Just because, you know, as much as this film is about Boogie, she makes it about herself in a good way. Like, there's an argument to be had that this film is just as much about her and Boogie's relationship as it is about Boogie, because she ends up becoming his only support system, and a very important one, too. And she doesn't play second fiddle. Like, Boogie is very focused and determined, But he's also irrational at times, and she's never afraid to put him in his place. And I really, once again, it's refreshing to see strong female characters like that. Additionally, I enjoyed Pop Smoke's performance in this film, who I had no idea he was also an actor in addition to being a rapper. But this is actually his first and only film because he was tragically murdered last year. The film is even dedicated to his memory. He plays the film's main antagonist, and what an antagonist he is. We do not see him for like the first half of the film, but we hear about just how vicious he is, how competitive he is. And when we finally see him, he lives up to that ferocity. And I don't know, there's just something about his presence in this film that is so captivating. For a person who doesn't have as much screen time, he steals every bit of screen time that he does get. And I just really enjoyed him in this, and I think it's so sad because you could tell just watching him that he would have absolutely been a star. He would have gone on to do bigger and better things if he were still alive. But I think that the fact that this is his only film just adds to its noteworthiness. Now, while I did mostly like this film, it's not without its flaws, as I mentioned before. And it's not just the fact that there isn't a lot of basketball in it. I think that the film's biggest issue is that there are so many good ideas here, but just not enough time to flush them out. It's too short. From what I've heard, though, the film was whittled down quite a bit. I think at the start of production it was somewhere around 130 pages, and then it got cut to about 90, and I know to some of you guys 40 pages may not sound like a lot, but it could honestly make or break a film. But to try and tell a story like this, especially in today's cinematic climate, I can't imagine it was easy. So the fact that this film was made at all, I count as a mini victory in and of itself. Boogie is one of those films that clearly isn't perfect, but it has so much to say and explores so many relevant themes that it's bound to stick. And for that, I'm going to give this film 3 stars.
So what are you going to do?
Now, I was actually very fortunate enough to speak to the film's writer and director, Huang, as well as one of the film's stars, Taylor Page, and I will post the links down below to those interviews if you want to check them out. Hopefully you enjoy them just as much as I hope you enjoyed this review. But with that being said, that's pretty much all the time that I have for you guys today. I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to view this video. It really does mean the world to me. And once again, if you like this video, please make sure to hit that like button. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well for more new movie related content. Now, if you happen to see Boogie, if you loved it, if you hated it, let me know what you thought about it down below in the comment section. I look forward to reading and responding to all of your comments, as always. With that being said, though, I am all out of time for you today. I'm always working on new stuff, though, so be on the lookout for more new content shortly. And, yeah, I should probably just get back to work, right? Until next time, I'm Dempsey Pilot. Take care.